3 years ago, when I created Imagining the World of Carl Jung, I thought that what I was doing was giving voice to the written stories in Carl Jung's autobiography, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Over 2 years of performing the material, I began to realize that the stories I had chosen were not just his stories, they were the stories in his life that were important to me in my own spiritual journey, my own process of individuation. I have come to think of it as, in the words of Rainer Maria Rilke's poem, as I paraphrase the idea, I circle around God, around the primordial tower. I've done this for thousands of years, and I still don't know, am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? I think Jung, in his spiritual journey, circled around God or the unconscious or the primordial tower, and he thought of them as equals in his life. And I'd like to tell a couple of stories that come from Jung's life, from his experience, that express that journey, that spiritual journey for the individual person. I was asked this evening to talk a little about the use or meaning of personal myth. And I think perhaps it is best to begin by seeing its relationship to what we call communal myth. And I'll tell you a little story about a communal myth. A few years ago, I was traveling in America, and there in the Southwest, in a small town called Taos, New Mexico, I met a man by the name of Mountain Lake. He was a native Indian who lived there in his pueblo, one of these adobe buildings with a flat roof. We were sitting on the roof, and I was probing, trying to get him to share information about his myth, his religion. He was reluctant to share with me, and only by indirect questions could I get anything. Well, finally I, as you say in America, hit the jackpot. I asked if there was anything in his religion that benefited the rest of mankind. And he became excited. And he said, "Are we not the children of our Father the Sun? Do we not live on the roof of the earth? And by our celebrations, our rituals, do we not help our Father the Sun travel across the sky every day?" Yeah. And he said, "If we stop our celebrations, our rituals, within 10 years the earth will be dark, there will be no sun." Well, can you see where this man gains his dignity? He is cosmologically important to the earth for its very existence. Now I can see you are smiling at the naivete of that man. But if you think about it, your religion and your religion, all religions believe that they have a special relationship with the divine. Christianity believes that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son so that people would have eternal life who believe in him. And the Jew believes that coming out of captivity from Egypt, that they formed a special covenant relationship with God, became the people of God. It's the same for all religions. But what about those of us, you and perhaps I, if we do not celebrate our communal myth anymore? We are left with reason as our only way to connect in this world. We lose our relationship to the divine. Are we not to be pitied? Are we not to be thought somehow given the shortest of the realities in life? Well, I would suggest that this is where personal myth comes into play. That through personal myth we can gain a relationship to the divine, to the numinous in this world. And in particular, it happens for me through nature. You know, I have a wonderful retreat in Bulligan, a place that I originally built as a single tower. That retreat is a place where I am separated from the world, where I go about my daily chores. I cook over a fire with wood that I cut each day, that I light my oil lamp at night to read by. It is a simple life. I remember this numinous experience. It was when the tower was new. One night I was in bed, I'd fallen asleep, and I had this dream or vision. I heard someone outside the tower in my dream, someone walking around the tower, singing and laughing and playing musical instruments. And I thought, what is this in the middle of the night? And so I got up and went to the window, opened the window, but there was no one outside. I went back to bed. The dream comes back to me, the same dream. And again, I say, what is this? I thought it was a dream, but now it seems real. And so I got up and went back to the window, opened it in again. Nothing. Well, I finally fell asleep that night, and I could not understand, was this a haunting of the ghosts of someone from the past? It was only about a week later when I was reading a history of that area in my homeland that I came upon this detail of history, that in the Middle Ages, young men in their teens and 20s gathered along the lake in Zurich, and they celebrated their lives. They sang and they laughed and talked and told stories in preparation for not knowing what would happen when they went to war, for they were all headed down into Italy to serve for a prince in his battles against his opponents in life. And I became aware that somehow a synchronicity of that time in the past and my own experience had come together. And do you know, from that time on, every springtime when I go to Bulligan, in the early part of the spring, I often think, will I hear the singing? Will I hear the music again as I did that night? It's a relationship to the natural world, to the world where I feel I'm part of the water that laps on the shore, of the breeze through the trees, of the animals coming and going in their season. This is my experience of the numinous, my personal myth.